My husband ignored 41 calls, while our 3-week-old daughter struggled to breathe in my arms. He wasn't trapped in a meeting. He wasn't on a delayed flight. He was drinking champagne on a sailboat off Key West with the woman he had been sleeping with for months. When I called his mother for help, she said, "2 babies were your choice, Hannah. Stop making them everyone else's emergency." 4 months later, my husband slid a $600 check across a table and told me that was more than a woman sanding old chairs deserved. I never cashed it. 3 years later, he was standing in his family's largest furniture showroom when my face appeared on every television mounted along the display wall. Then the reporter held up a blue inspection card bearing my name. Someone in the showroom asked Ethan why he had told customers I approved furniture I had never even seen. He ordered an employee to turn off the televisions. No one moved. Then the reporter played a recording. By the time Ethan heard his own voice, his mother had stopped talking. Customers were backing away from the nursery display, and one of his oldest employees was removing the Whitmore badge from his shirt. But I am getting ahead of myself. Before Ethan Whitmore appeared in my workshop, I was not a woman looking for revenge. I was a woman who believed almost anything could be repaired if someone cared enough to do the work. My name is Hannah Carter. I restore furniture. I learned from my father in a cinderblock shop behind our house outside Clarksville, Tennessee. Dad repaired the things ordinary families could not bring themselves to throw away: scratched dining tables, broken rocking chairs, cedar chests filled with letters and dressers that had survived more marriages than the people who owned them. He had one rule he repeated whenever I wanted to cover a crack before understanding it. Damage always has a direction, he would say. Find the pressure and you'll find the break. Wood, according to my father, was honest. You could paint over water damage or hide a weak joint against a wall, but the truth eventually returned. A drawer stuck, a tabletop sagged, a chair leaned beneath weight it had once carried easily. I carried that lesson into every part of my work. Unfortunately, I did not carry it into my marriage soon enough. Dad died when I was 26. A heart attack in the parking lot of a hardware store. He left me his hand tools, his workbench, and $6,000. I used the money to rent a narrow room behind a fabric store in East Nashville. The shop had one window, unreliable heat, and a metal door that rattled whenever a delivery truck passed. I painted Carter Furniture Restoration across the glass. The words looked too large for the room. I kept them anyway. Ethan Whitmore walked through that door on a rainy Thursday carrying one end of a walnut rocking chair. A delivery driver held the other. The chair had belonged to Ethan's grandmother. One spindle was broken, the seat had split, and someone had buried the damage beneath a dark layer of stain. 2 other shops said it isn't worth saving, Ethan told me. I turned the chair over and pressed my thumb against the underside of the seat. The wood was strong beneath the bad repair. It can be saved, I said. It just won't be quick. He smiled. I was hoping you'd say that. I knew the Whitmore name. Whitmore Home and Nursery was a regional furniture chain with 5 stores across Tennessee and southern Kentucky. The company sold dining sets, bedroom furniture, nursery collections, and rustic cabinets designed to look handmade, even when they were not. Its commercials featured black and white photographs of Ethan's grandfather working in an apron. Their slogan appeared on every truck: "Built here, built to last." Ethan did not behave like the spoiled heir I expected. He returned to the shop while I repaired the chair. The first time he brought coffee. The second time he brought sandwiches because he noticed I had worked through lunch. The third time he sat on an overturned bucket and watched me fit a new spindle. "Why not stain it darker?" he asked. Then no one would see the replacement. Because hiding a repair and making a good repair are not the same thing. What's the difference? A good repair makes the piece strong enough to live with what happened to it. He looked at me for a long moment. Then he asked me to dinner. In the beginning, Ethan made love feel easy. He remembered how I took my coffee. He sent me photographs of strange chairs he saw in hotel lobbies. When he traveled for work, he called before bed and asked what I had repaired that day. He never appeared embarrassed by the sawdust on my jeans or the stain beneath my fingernails. He introduced me as the woman who can save anything. At the time, I thought that was admiration. Later, I understood it was also an expectation. If I could save anything, Ethan would never have to worry about what he destroyed. I met his family at a Sunday dinner in Franklin. The Whitmore home was a large brick house on several acres. It was comfortable rather than extravagant, but every room seemed arranged to remind visitors that the family had been successful for a long time. Judith Whitmore opened the door before Ethan knocked. She wore a cream sweater, small gold earrings, and a smile that remained in place without ever reaching her eyes. "So you're the furniture girl." "My shop specializes in restoration." "Yes, Ethan mentioned your little business." The word little landed exactly where she intended it to. Ethan's younger sister, Mallory, arrived 20 minutes late. She hugged Ethan, kissed Judith's cheek, and looked at me the way someone might look at a chair that had been moved into the wrong room. "Do you work for Whitmore?" she asked. "No, I own my own shop." Oh, her interest ended there. During dinner, Judith asked what my father had left me. "His tools," I said. She placed one hand against her chest. How sentimental. Ethan squeezed my knee under the table. I interpreted the gesture as support. What he actually offered was comfort after the disrespect, not protection from it. There is a difference. We married 18 months later in a restored barn outside Leiper's Fork. Judith wanted a hotel ballroom. Mallory wanted dresses that cost more than my first car. Ethan told me we did not need his family's approval. Standing beneath strings of warm lights, I believed that sounded like freedom. I had not yet learned the difference between freedom and being left alone to absorb his family's cruelty. After the wedding, I continued running my shop while helping Whitmore home and nursery with occasional projects. At first, Ethan asked only for advice. Then he brought me a damaged crib sample. Then Judith requested finish options for a farmhouse dining collection. Then Mallory used one of my restored cedar chests in a social media campaign without mentioning where it came from. Every request was small enough to feel unreasonable to refuse. Together they became months of unpaid work. The company's Heritage Nursery collection began with a sketch I made on the back of an invoice. The design was inspired by Ethan's grandmother's rocking chair. It had rounded rails, a hand-rubbed walnut finish, and a curved support beneath the frame. Ethan loved it. This could be the line that changes everything, he said. For 6 months, I developed samples, tested hardware, and corrected problems at the Whitmore workshop. I assumed my name would appear beside the collection. At the launch party, Judith stood in front of a wall-sized photograph of Ethan's grandfather and thanked her son for bringing the Whitmore tradition into a new generation. Mallory posted a picture of herself beside the crib. Her caption read, "Family design runs deep." I stood 8 feet away holding a paper cup of lemonade. No one said my name. On the drive home, I told Ethan the omission hurt. He kept his eyes on the highway. "Mom wants the brand to feel consistent." What does that mean? The Whitmores have always presented the designs as coming from inside the family. "I am your wife." You know what I mean. I did. To Judith, I was married to the family. I was not part of it. Ethan promised the next brochure would credit me. It never did. When I became pregnant with twins, Ethan cried. He held the test in both hands and laughed as if something impossible had happened for him alone. For several weeks, he was attentive. He came to appointments. He read articles about twin development. He bought 2 tiny Tennessee Titans jerseys before we knew whether the babies were boys or girls. Then Whitmore Home and Nursery entered negotiations with Mercer Living, a larger home goods distributor based in Florida. The partnership could place Whitmore furniture in dozens of new stores. The person managing the deal was Sloan Mercer, the owner's daughter. I first met Sloan at a company dinner when I was 5 months pregnant. She wore a white silk blouse and spoke with the quiet confidence of someone accustomed to rooms adjusting around her. When Ethan introduced us, she looked at my stomach before looking at my face. "Twins," she said, "that's ambitious." "I don't think they asked our permission." She smiled. Ethan usually likes a plan. There was something in the way she said his name. Familiarity without boundaries. I noticed Ethan suddenly become interested in adjusting his cuff. On the drive home, I asked how often they travel together. "She manages the account." That wasn't my question. He sighed. "Hannah, please don't turn a business dinner into something ugly." I apologized. That became our pattern. I noticed something. Ethan made my noticing the problem. His phone began sleeping face down. He took calls in the garage. Trips scheduled for 2 nights became 4. If I asked why, he accused me of being anxious. If I stopped asking, he praised me for trusting him. Judith's insults became sharper as my pregnancy progressed. At my baby shower, she rested one hand on my shoulder and said, Some women are naturally equipped for motherhood. Others have to work much harder. There is no shame in knowing which kind you are. Mallory complained that my registry was aggressively practical. She bought 2 white cashmere blankets that could not be machine washed and appeared offended when I did not react as though she had solved infancy. By my 8th month, the nursery was still unfinished. Ethan promised to paint it with me on a Saturday. Friday evening, he received what he called an emergency call from a distributor in Florida. He left before sunrise. I painted the room alone. The color was a soft blue-gray called Morning Rain. While I stood on a ladder taping the trim, Mallory texted asking for a photograph. I sent one. Her reply came 12 minutes later. Looks kind of sad, but I guess cheap paint is easy to cover later. I stared at the message. Then I put the phone down and finished the wall. That night, while moving Ethan's clothes from the dryer, I found a folded receipt in the pocket of his linen pants. Sunset Sailing Charter, Key West. 2 guests. The date matched a weekend when Ethan had told me he was attending a dealer conference in Orlando. I stood in the laundry room with one hand pressed against my stomach as one of the babies shifted beneath my ribs. I did not confront him. For a long time, I was ashamed of that. I had always considered myself direct and capable, but pregnancy had connected every decision to 2 lives I had not yet met. I told myself I needed certainty. I told myself marriages survive strange receipts and awkward dinners. Mostly I was afraid of asking a question Ethan might answer honestly. The twins arrived 5 weeks early. Lily came first, furious and loud. Jack followed 3 minutes later, smaller and quiet enough that every person in the delivery room watched him until he finally cried. Ethan was present. He held my hand and kissed my forehead. For 2 days, he behaved like a man whose world had changed. By the end of the first week, he slept in the guest room because the babies woke him before work. By the second, he stayed late at the office. By the third, he announced he had to travel to Miami to save the Mercer deal. I was still recovering from a C-section. Lily struggled to gain weight. Jack slept only when someone held him upright against a chest. Please postpone the trip, I said. This deal keeps hundreds of people employed. Our children are 3 weeks old. They have a mother. They also have a father. He lifted his suitcase. I'll be home Thursday. He kissed the top of Jack's head without taking him from my arms. Then he left. The night Lily stopped breathing properly began with a sound so small I nearly dismissed it. A soft whistle. Then another. I turned on the bedside lamp. Her skin looked pale around her mouth. Her ribs pulled inward whenever she tried to breathe. I called Ethan. 6 rings. Voicemail. I called again. And again. By the 6th attempt, my hands were shaking so badly, I dropped the pacifier I was trying to place in the diaper bag. Jack woke and began crying. Lily's breaths became shorter. I called 911. While the dispatcher asked questions, I continued calling Ethan from an old phone I used for filming restoration work. 10 calls. 14. 19. The paramedics arrived while I was wearing pajama pants and 1-bedroom slipper. One took Lily. The other asked who could stay with Jack. My husband is out of town. Is there family nearby? I called Judith. She answered after several rings. What is it? Lily can't breathe. The ambulance is here. Ethan won't answer. I need someone to take Jack or meet us at Vanderbilt. There was a pause. Then Judith exhaled. Not fear. Annoyance. Hannah, you cannot call people in the middle of the night every time one of those babies makes a strange noise. The paramedics are giving her oxygen. 2 babies were your choice. If you cannot manage them, stop making them everyone else's emergency. The hallway became still. A paramedic was kneeling beside my daughter. My son was screaming in his bassinet. And the woman who had spent months calling herself an excited grandmother was explaining that my child's emergency was inconvenient. I'm taking that as a no, I said. I ended the call. Then I called my best friend Keisha Monroe. Keisha and I had met at community college when we were 19. She now worked as a photographer for a children's hospital foundation and had spent years documenting families on days no one wanted photographed. She answered on the second ring. Hannah. Lily. That was all I managed. Tell me where. She reached the hospital 9 minutes after the ambulance. I do not know how she crossed Nashville that quickly. I have never asked. She met me at the emergency entrance and took Jack from my arms without waiting for permission. I've got him. Go. Lily had a respiratory infection that had developed into bronchiolitis. The doctor said we caught it in time. He also said premature infants could deteriorate quickly. Another few hours would have made this much more dangerous. Another few hours. I sat beside Lily's hospital crib with one finger inside her tiny hand. I called Ethan until the call log reached 41. Then I stopped. At 6:12 in the morning, his name appeared on the screen. I watched the phone ring. I did not answer. A text arrived. Just landed, what happened? Then, Hannah, Mom said you overreacted about Lily. I looked at my daughter beneath the oxygen tubing. Overreacted. Keisha entered carrying 2 coffees. She saw my face and set both cups on the windowsill. Where is he? I don't know. She unlocked her phone and began searching. 10 minutes later, she found a photograph posted publicly by a restaurant in Key West. A group of people raised champagne glasses on a sailboat. Ethan stood at the back. Sloane Mercer was beside him wearing his sunglasses. His hand rested against her waist. The photograph had been posted at 2:51 that morning. While I was making my 9th call, Keisha handed me the phone. I studied the image for several seconds. Then I gave it back. Something inside me became quiet, not peaceful. It was the silence that follows when a machine has finally broken beyond the point where pressing another button could matter. Ethan arrived the following afternoon wearing yesterday's shirt and carrying airport flowers wrapped in plastic. He moved toward Lily's crib. I stepped between them. Don't. Hannah, let me explain. Were you with Sloane? He looked toward Keisha. This is between us. Keisha did not move. I repeated the question. Were you with her? Yes. The word came without struggle. That hurt more than a lie would have. How long? A few months? Our children are 3 weeks old. I know. You know their age. That is not the same as knowing what you did. He lowered his voice. The marriage was already difficult. I stared at him. I was standing beside our hospitalized newborn after 41 unanswered calls, and Ethan was presenting his affair as a response to marital stress. What was difficult, I asked. The part where I designed your nursery collection without credit, the part where I painted our baby's room alone, or the part where I believed you whenever you told me not to trust myself. His expression hardened. I did not come here to be attacked. You came because someone posted a photograph. He looked toward Lily. I want to see my daughter. She was your daughter when I called the first time. His jaw tightened. That was the moment I understood something important about Ethan. He could tolerate my pain. What he could not tolerate was hearing it described accurately. He left after less than 20 minutes. 2 days later, while Lily was still under observation, he sent a message saying he needed space. By the time I brought the twins home, half his clothes were gone. He returned the following evening. We sat at the kitchen table while Lily and Jack slept beside us. I placed the Key West photograph between us. I want the truth, once I said, not to save the marriage. The marriage is over. I want it because you spent months convincing me I misunderstood what I could see. Ethan looked tired but not ashamed. Sloane understands the pressure I am under. I asked for the truth, not an advertisement. The company is changing. The Mercer partnership could put us in 27 new stores. She understands that world. And I don't. You are happiest in a room with broken furniture, Hannah. His voice softened as if softness made the next sentence kind. You never wanted more. I had helped develop his company's most successful collection while pregnant. I had attended dinners where his mother insulted me. I had repaired samples overnight so his launch would stay on schedule. Because I did not demand applause, Ethan had mistaken my silence for lack of ambition. You are right, I said. I do not want what you want. Relief crossed his face. He thought I had agreed to disappear quietly. Then I continued. I don't want a life where everyone is measured by what they can do for you. He stood. I'll arrange money for the babies. Arrange? The company is not liquid the way people assume. You spent 3 nights on a sailboat. That was part of the Mercer trip. With your hand on her waist. His face changed. The conversation ended because I had refused to help him make his choices sound respectable. Within 1 week, Ethan moved into a condo paid for through the company. Our joint checking account was reduced to less than $1,000. I lost access to the card I had used for groceries. The lease on my restoration shop had expired during the pregnancy, and I had not renewed it because Ethan promised I could work in unused space behind the Whitmore warehouse. That promise disappeared with him. The separation process was not dramatic. There were no courtroom speeches. There were forms, bills, missed payments, and rooms where strangers asked me to reduce the worst months of my life into dates and numbers. The humiliation came from how ordinary it felt. At the temporary support meeting, Ethan arrived with Judith Mallory and the company accountant. I wore a brown wool coat from a thrift store because my pregnancy coat no longer fit, and I could not afford a new one. Mallory looked me up and down in the hallway. Vintage, secondhand. I could tell. Judith heard her and smiled. No one corrected her. The accountant said Ethan's official salary had been reduced while the company invested in expansion. No one discussed the condo, the company car, or his travel account. The temporary support payment for both children was set at $600 a month. When the meeting ended, Ethan wrote the first check and pushed it across the table. He noticed the wood stain near my thumbnail. "I assume you'll start taking repair jobs again." "I already have." He laughed. "You're going to support 2 babies sanding old chairs." The room became quiet. Judith watched me with the expression of someone waiting for a small animal to realize it had been cornered. Ethan tapped the check. "600 is more than reasonable. It's probably more than a washed-up furniture girl will earn right now." I looked at the man I had once believed was gentle. There was no conflict in his face, only confidence that the world agreed with his measurement of me. I picked up the check. In the hallway, Mallory said, "You should be grateful. Most men would fight harder before paying that much. Your brother ignored 41 calls while his daughter couldn't breathe." She folded her arms. "You make everything sound so dramatic." The elevator doors opened. Before they closed, Judith said, "You are never suited to this family, Hannah." I held her gaze. For the first time, I did not need to prove that I was. I moved into a 2-bedroom apartment above a laundromat on Gallatin Pike. The building shook every morning when the industrial washer started. The kitchen had yellow cabinets, cracked tile, and 4 feet of usable counter space. The twins slept in portable cribs in the bedroom. I slept on a mattress between them because Lily's breathing still frightened me. For months after the hospital, I woke whenever she made a sound. Sometimes I woke when she made no sound at all. I would stand over the crib and place 2 fingers against her ribs until I felt them rise. My workbench was an old interior door balanced across 2 filing cabinets in the living room. Clamps hung from nails above the television. Sandpaper shared a drawer with burp cloths. Stain samples lived on top of the refrigerator. The apartment was small. It was noisy. It was mine. Nothing inside it had been loaned by a Whitmore. The first 2 months nearly broke me. Ethan's $600 rarely arrived on time. He missed his first visit with the twins because of a product launch. He canceled the second because Sloane's father had invited him to a golf weekend. When he did come, he spent more time taking photographs than holding the babies. Mallory posted one of those pictures with the caption, "Proud Whitmore Dad." I was cropped out of the frame. Judith mailed 2 blankets embroidered with a large W. No note. No offer to help. Just the family initial placed across my children like a mark of ownership. I put the blankets in a closet. I applied for restoration work at antique dealers and historic home contractors. One said my schedule was too limited. Another asked whether I intended to bring my babies to appointments. A third needed someone available for overnight travel. I thanked each person politely. Then I sat on the kitchen floor after the twins were asleep and calculated rent formula, diapers, electricity, and car insurance. The numbers did not become kinder because I was tired. One Thursday, the landlord taped a late fee reminder to my door. Rent was due in 4 days. Ethan's payment was 9 days late. I called him. He declined the call. I texted, "The babies need formula. The support payment hasn't arrived." His reply came 40 minutes later. "Talk to the accountant. I'm in a meeting." I typed 3 responses. I deleted all of them. Jack crawled across the rug and placed one wet hand on my knee. He smiled with 2 tiny teeth. Lily sat behind him, studying my face with the serious expression she still wears whenever she senses something matters. "All right," I whispered. I did not know what I was agreeing to. I only knew their safety could no longer depend on whether Ethan answered a phone. Keisha arrived that evening carrying barbecue diapers and a second-hand ring light. "What is that?" "Your new employee." "I cannot pay an employee." "The light does not know that." She moved laundry from a chair and sat down. During the years I owned my shop, I sometimes posted short restoration clips online. Most received a few hundred views. Keisha believed I filmed the wrong part. "You show people the finished chair," she said. "They need to see when it still looks hopeless. No one wants to watch me scrape glue after midnight. I watched you repair my cousin's table after he dropped it down 3 flights of stairs. I did not even like the table and I could not leave. That may say more about you than the table. She pointed at the light. Show them a real room. Show them the bottles beside the clamps. Talk the way you talk when you forget someone is listening. The only project in the apartment was a maple rocking chair a young mother had found beside the road. One rocker was cracked. The seat was covered in green vinyl. Someone had driven 3 screws through the arm in an attempt to stabilize it. The woman could pay only $75. She wanted to rock her son in the same kind of chair her mother once used. After the twins fell asleep, I placed my phone on a stack of cookbooks. This chair does not need another screw, I said into the camera. It needs someone to understand why the joint keeps failing. I removed the arm and showed the old glue split dowel and pressure mark where the frame had been forced out of alignment. Halfway through, Lily cried. I stopped filming, fed her, and returned with a milk stain on my shirt. For a moment, I considered starting over. Instead, I looked at the camera. That was my daughter. She has strong opinions about working after midnight. Then I continued. I posted the video at 1:07 in the morning. When I woke at 6, it had 18,000 views. By noon, it had 73,000. By the following evening, more than 500,000 people had watched me take apart a damaged rocking chair above a laundromat. The comments were not mocking my apartment. People wrote about their grandfather's desk, their mother's kitchen table, and the chair no one had thrown away after a funeral. One woman wrote, I didn't know I needed to hear that the visible crack isn't always the real problem. Another wrote, please keep the baby noises, they make me feel less alone. A blank account with no profile photograph shared the video into several large woodworking groups. Then it shared my older clips. I clicked the account. No name, no posts, no explanation. Someone had decided my work deserved to be seen. I did not know who. I only knew that strangers were finally looking at what I could do instead of what Ethan believed I was worth. I named the channel Second Life Workshop. The next videos did well. Not every video went viral, but enough people returned that small tool companies began sending supplies. A local hardware store paid me to demonstrate furniture-safe finishes. People mailed photographs of family pieces and asked whether they could be saved. For the first time, I had more work than I could accept. Then, just as I started believing I could support us, everything collapsed again. A local antique dealer offered me the largest commission I had received since leaving Ethan restoration of an entire dining set for a historic home. The job would cover 2 months of rent. 3 days before pickup, the dealer canceled. He sounded embarrassed. Whitmore Home contacted several people in the industry, he said. They're claiming your online work uses designs and methods developed for their company. The methods are standard restoration methods. I believe you, but I cannot risk losing access to their showroom clients. The following morning, a small sponsor paused our agreement. That afternoon, my landlord knocked on the door. Someone had complained about sanding noise and deliveries. He had discovered I was operating a business from the apartment. You can finish what's here, he said, but no more customer work after the end of the month. I closed the door and leaned against it. My channel looked successful from the outside. My bank account did not. I had 37 days before I could no longer work from the apartment. The sponsor money had stopped. Ethan's latest payment was late. Then Lily began coughing. The sound was not as severe as the night she was hospitalized, but my body reacted before my mind did. Within seconds, I was holding her beneath the bathroom steam, counting every breath and fighting the memory of 41 unanswered calls. Keisha came over. The doctor said Lily had a minor cold. She would be fine. I sat in the parking lot afterward and cried harder than I had cried at the hospital. Not because Lily was sick, because I could no longer pretend I was not tired. I cannot keep doing this, I told Keisha. She sat behind the steering wheel with both hands resting in her lap. Which part? All of it. That is too many things. Name one. I cannot raise them, fight Ethan, build a business. Find another workspace and keep pretending I am not terrified every time Lily coughs. Then stop pretending. What? Stop performing strength for everyone. You are allowed to be scared and still make the next decision. I looked through the windshield. I found a warehouse job. What kind? Furniture receiving, evening shift. Would it cover rent? Yes. Would you hate it? Yes. Would you survive it? Yes. Then take it if you need to. Survival is not failure. I accepted the job. For 6 weeks, I worked at the warehouse from 4 in the afternoon until midnight. Keisha kept the twins. I filmed restoration videos between 5 and 7 in the morning using pieces I owned rather than customer work. I slept in fragments. The channel slowed. Some viewers asked why I no longer posted full transformations. I did not explain. I was too ashamed to admit that the woman they praised online spent her evenings scanning boxes in a receiving bay. One morning, while filming the repair of my father's old shop stool, I stopped halfway through. My hands were trembling from exhaustion. I looked at the camera. "This is not the video I planned," I said. For the first time, I told the truth about the previous 6 weeks. Not about Ethan's affair. Not about the separation. I told viewers I had lost my workspace, that a large job had been canceled, and that I was working nights to keep the lights on. I have been editing out the difficult parts because I thought people came here to see things repaired, I said. But the truth is that sometimes you have to keep a broken thing safe until you have the time and strength to rebuild it properly. I expected pity. Instead, I received practical help. A retired cabinet maker offered unused bench space in a shared workshop. A local lumberyard offered discounted materials. A woman who owned a small tool company contacted me about a paid teaching series. Hundreds of viewers ordered the digital repair guide I had posted months earlier and nearly forgotten. No one rescued me, but enough people placed one board beneath my feet that I could stop sinking. 3 months later, I left the warehouse job. I rented a narrow workshop in Madison with concrete floors, a utility sink, and a window facing a tire store. It was 700 square feet. To me, it felt enormous. I hung Dad's tools above the main bench. Keisha ordered a sign without asking me. "Damage has a direction." Lily and Jack grew inside that workshop. Jack touched everything. Lily watched before deciding whether something deserved her attention. At 14 months, Jack discovered the drawer where I kept clean rags. He pulled every rag onto the floor and sat in the middle looking proud. Lily watched him do this for 3 days. On the 4th, she opened the drawer, removed one rag, wiped the water Jack had spilled, and returned it. They were born 3 minutes apart and already seemed to operate under different management. By their first birthday, Second Life Workshop had passed 1 million subscribers. Keisha brought a grocery store cake with 1 million written in blue icing. The final 0 slid off the edge. Jack put both hands in the cake before we took a photograph. Lily looked offended on behalf of everyone. That afternoon, I received an offer from a tool manufacturer for a year-long educational partnership. The amount was more than I had earned during my best year before Ethan. I opened the drawer where I kept his $600 check. The paper had curled at the corners. I placed it beneath a heavy catalog to flatten it. I still did not cash it. Success did not erase what happened. It changed the balance slowly. I stopped checking my bank account before buying strawberries. I hired a college student to help package repair kits. I moved the twins into a small rental house with a fenced backyard. The house was ordinary. Brown carpet, a noisy dishwasher, a porch light that attracted every moth in Nashville. The first night, Lily and Jack ran from room to room because they had never lived anywhere with enough space to gather speed. I stood in the kitchen listening to their feet and cried quietly. Not because the house was beautiful, because I had signed the lease using money earned from the work Ethan called useless. Ethan remained inconsistent. He visited when it suited him. Judith posted photographs of our Whitmore twins despite seeing them only a few times a year. When I asked her to stop posting unapproved pictures, she replied, "You cannot erase their heritage because you are angry at Ethan." I answered once, "Heritage is what children receive from the way a family treats them." She did not respond. When Lily and Jack were 4, their preschool held a family building night. Each child was supposed to make a small wooden birdhouse with a parent or grandparent. Ethan promised he would come. Jack told everyone his father worked with furniture. He waited beside the classroom door wearing a plastic tool belt. Every time footsteps entered the hallway, he looked up. Ethan never came. At 7:15, a message appeared on my phone. Something came up with a dealer. "Tell them I'm sorry." Jack was pushing an unpainted birdhouse across the table when he asked, "Did Dad forget where we live again?" The room around me seemed to fall away. I knelt beside him. "Your father made a choice not to come tonight. Because I'm bad at building." "No." I placed one hand against his cheek. "His choice is not a measurement of your worth." Jack looked toward the door. "Can we build it anyway?" "Yes." Lily slid her own birdhouse between us. "Mine needs structural assistance." We stayed until the teacher began turning off lights. That night, I stopped hoping Ethan would become a reliable father simply because the children deserved one. They did deserve one. But pretending he already was would only teach them to distrust what they could see. A month later, Judith sent a formal letter saying I had 30 days to collect the remaining belongings stored at the original Whitmore workshop. Before the twins were born, I had kept several tools, sample boards, and unfinished pieces there. I had avoided retrieving them because I did not want to walk through the building alone. The letter changed that. The original workshop stood behind the flagship showroom in Franklin. It was the oldest part of the company, a low brick building with high windows and a loading door bearing the faded outline of the original Whitmore Woodworks sign. The operations manager, Ray Alvarez, brought me a cart. Ray had worked there for nearly 30 years. He had helped me build the original nursery prototypes. "You doing all right?" he asked quietly. "I am. I've seen your videos." Something in his expression suggested more. Before he could continue, Judith called from the office. "Ray, Hannah knows which belongings are hers." She spoke about me as if I were not 20 feet away. Ray's jaw tightened. Then he walked toward the loading area. I packed Dad's moisture meter design notebooks, sample boards, and several hand tools. Near the back wall stood the walnut prototype of the first Heritage crib. My prototype. A brass company plate had been attached to the rail. Designed by Ethan Whitmore. I ran my thumb across the engraved letters. Mallory appeared behind me. "That stays. I am not taking it." "Good, it is company property." "I know what you call it." Her smile thinned. "You have your internet business now. Stop revisiting old grievances. Do you remember telling me the nursery looked cheap while I painted it alone?" Her face shifted. "That was years ago." "Not to me." She looked away first. While moving the final cabinet, I found a narrow wooden sample box beneath a stack of old catalogs. My initials were written on the side. Inside were finished panels, hardware samples, and the rubber stamp I used during development of the nursery collection. Approved, Hannah Carter. The stamp should have been returned when the line launched. I had asked Ethan about it twice. He claimed it had been lost. The rubber surface was stained with blue ink, fresh ink. I had always used black. Beneath the sample panels was a stack of inspection cards bearing blue impressions of my stamp. Several listed nursery products manufactured long after I had left the company. My name appeared beneath the words, "Final Safety Review." I had reviewed none of them. I photographed the cards. I placed everything back into the box and loaded it onto my cart because the box and stamp appeared on my original inventory. Judith watched as I carried it toward my car. "Is that necessary?" "It belongs to me. It contains company materials. It contains my name." For the first time that day, uncertainty appeared in her face. Ray followed me outside. Before I closed the trunk, he spoke quietly. "The building does not belong to them." I turned. "What?" "The old workshop. Whitmore leases it from the Bell family. Always has." "Why are you telling me?" "They are behind on the rent." He looked toward the showroom. "The expansion cost more than Ethan admitted. If Mercer does not increase the orders soon, this place is in trouble." "Ray, what have they been doing with my stamp?" He looked at the ground. "Call me tomorrow." He walked back inside before I could answer. That evening, I examined the cards beneath my workshop lights. Some listed dressers and cribs that had never been built in Franklin. The materials did not match Whitmore's local products. One sample described as solid wood was compressed board beneath thin veneer. A nursery safe finish listed on another card smelled like a cheaper industrial coating. The Whitmores were using my name, finish listed on another card, smelled like to make imported furniture appear locally built and personally inspected. My anger turned into fear. This was not only about stolen credit. Baby slept beside these products. I called Ray the next morning. He did not answer. 3 weeks passed. During those weeks, Mallory came to my workshop. She arrived shortly before closing wearing dark glasses and a tan coat. The twins were with Keisha. My assistant had gone home. Mallory looked around the workshop. 4 benches, professional lights, organized shelves, a filming area, a framed magazine cover featuring Second Life Workshop. "You've done well," she said. The compliment appeared to hurt. "What do you need?" She removed her glasses. The skin beneath her eyes looked gray. "I have some jewelry I need valued." "Yours. Family pieces." That was not my question. She removed photographs from her handbag. Judith's earrings, a gold bracelet I had seen at our wedding, a silver tea service displayed in the Whitmore dining room. Mallory had accumulated gambling debt. She had already sold several pieces from Judith's collection and needed someone to help move the rest quietly. You came to me, private buyers. You told me not to let the door hit me after your brother offered $600 for 2 babies. I did not come to discuss the divorce. No. You came because you believe the woman your family humiliated will help you steal from your mother. I am not stealing. Does Judith know? Mallory looked away. I pushed the photographs back toward her. I will not help you sell anything that is not yours. She stood abruptly. You think you're better than us. No. I met her eyes. I finally understand that being accepted by your family was never worth earning. Her face turned white. If you tell my mother, I am giving you one chance to tell her yourself and get help. She'll destroy me. She will be furious because your behavior threatens the family image. That is not the same as destroying you. You don't know her. I know her well enough. Mallory placed the photographs back into her bag. At the door, she turned. Ethan told us the stamp was company property. I did not speak. He had me order new inspection cards after you left. Did you know I had not approved the furniture? Her eyes filled, but no tears fell. I did not ask. That is not the same as not knowing. She left. The next morning, Ray called. I have records, he said. What kind? Purchase orders, customer complaints, a recording from a management meeting. We met at a diner near the interstate. Ray looked older than he had 1 month earlier. He placed a flash drive on the table. I kept copies because I knew they would blame the Franklin shop. Has anyone been hurt? A dresser fell on a little boy in Murfreesboro. He needed stitches. My stomach tightened. Did the dresser include an anchoring strap? No. What did the company do? Blame the parents. Ray stared at his coffee. There have been crib hardware failures too. Nothing catastrophic yet. But the imported pieces are not what the labels say. Who approved using my stamp? Ethan. Judith. She knew. Mallory. She ordered the cards. I picked up the drive. What is on the recording? You should listen. He hesitated. There is something else. I waited. I am the blank account that shared your first video. I looked at him. The account with no name. He nodded. I watched them put Ethan's name on your work. I did not stop it. Sharing that video was the smallest thing I could do without losing my nerve. For months I had wondered who pushed my work into the world when I most needed to be seen. It had not been an algorithm. It had been a man carrying his own shame. Thank you, I said. His eyes became wet. That does not fix what I failed to do. No, I thought of Dad's words. But it tells me which direction you are walking now. Keisha sat beside me while I listened to the recording that evening. Ethan's voice came first. A manager asked whether the new dressers would pass independent safety review. They do not need another review, Ethan said. The cards are complete. Ray's voice followed. Hannah never inspected those imports. Ethan answered. Her stamp is on the paperwork. That is not the same thing. A chair moved. Then Judith spoke. We are not delaying the Mercer launch over a technical argument. Another manager said one dresser has already tipped. Ethan responded. The family ignored the anchoring instructions. The shipment did not include straps. Then include them in the next one. We cannot miss the retail window. A woman asked what would happen if I challenged the approval cards. Ethan laughed. Hannah is living above a laundromat making videos about broken chairs. She is not challenging Whitmore. Someone asked whether using photographs of the twins might improve the nursery campaign. Ethan answered, keep them out of it for now. When they are older, maybe we use the family angle for holiday advertising. The same employee said, they are your children, not a marketing angle. Ethan's voice sharpened. Right now, they are an expense and a distraction. I am not letting dead weight slow this launch. The room in the recording went silent. So did mine. Keisha paused the audio. Her face had changed. You tell me what you need. I looked toward the dark workshop. I need those products out of children's rooms. That became the purpose. Not destroying Ethan. Not humiliating Judith. Not proving I had won the divorce. I contacted a state product safety office and gave them the cards bearing my name. I spoke with a local investigative reporter named Marisol Vega. She had covered dangerous home products and deceptive advertising. I explained the situation simply. Whitmore advertised imported furniture as locally built. A child had been injured. My inspection stamp had been used without my permission. Marisol listened. Then she said, your experience begins the story. It cannot be the only thing supporting it. What do you need? Customers, employees, independent testing. So we began. The process took months. Ray provided purchase orders and complaint records. The injured child's mother agreed to speak. A furniture safety specialist confirmed that several dresser models were unstable and lacked reliable anchoring equipment. Former employees described removing shipping labels before products entered the showroom. Mallory initially refused to participate. Then Judith discovered the missing jewelry. Ethan told Mallory to stay away from the company until the embarrassment passed. Judith called her a disgrace to the family. 2 nights later, Mallory sent me an email. Attached were messages showing Ethan had instructed her to order blue inspection cards using my stamp. Her note contained one sentence. I thought protecting them would make me safe. I called her. Are you safe now? I don't know. Are you gambling? Not since I left Mom's house. You need professional help. I know. She began crying. It was the first unguarded sound I had ever heard from her. I was horrible to you. Yes. I thought if Mom approved of me, I would be safe. You were not safe, I said. You were useful. She inhaled sharply. I gave her the number of a counselor Keisha knew. Mallory agreed that Marisol could use the emails, but she did not want to appear on camera. I understood. She was not forgiven simply because she finally told the truth. But she had stopped helping the lie survive. While the investigation continued, Ray told me more about the old workshop. The Bell family who owned the building had become increasingly frustrated with Whitmore Home and Nursery. The company was months behind on rent. Ethan wanted to replace the workshop with warehouse space if the Mercer expansion succeeded. The Bell family wanted the building preserved as a working craft space. One afternoon, Mrs. Bell visited Second Life Workshop. She was 72 and wore muddy gardening shoes. My father rented that building to Ethan's grandfather, she said. He promised it would always be used to make things. She looked around my workshop. I have seen your videos. I waited. If Whitmore leaves, would you consider taking the old place? The question frightened me. The old workshop held some of the worst memories of my marriage. It was also where I had built my first crib prototype and where dozens of skilled workers had spent their lives. I do not know. Mrs. Bell nodded. Do not answer quickly. That evening I told Keisha. She set down the spoon she was using to stir pasta. You are afraid going back means Ethan still controls the story. Yes. Taking the building is not going back. She looked at me. It is deciding what the place means now. I visited the workshop alone after closing. Dust hung in the evening light. The brass plate bearing Ethan's name remained on the prototype crib. I imagined the office removed. I imagined a childcare room above the shop floor. I imagined Ray teaching apprentices. I imagined women who had been told their lives were over learning to use Dad's tools. For the first time, the building did not feel like Whitmore property. It felt unfinished. I signed a lease with the Bell family. Only Keisha, Ray, and Marisol knew. The agreement would begin if Whitmore failed to cure the unpaid rent, and the safety investigation forced the company to shut down the nursery operation. I did not know whether that would happen, but I wanted to be ready if it did. During the same period, a national morning program contacted me. The producers were creating a series about Americans rebuilding careers while helping their communities. They wanted to film Second Life Workshop. I agreed. They recorded me repairing a century-old church pew damaged in a flood. They interviewed Keisha and several parents I had begun training on weekends. They filmed Dad's tools. Near the end, the interviewer asked what I wanted Lily and Jack to learn from watching me rebuild. I looked toward the children who were drawing beneath a workbench. I want them to know that being abandoned does not make a person disposable, I said. Someone else's inability to value you is not an accurate measurement of your worth. The segment was scheduled to air on the same morning Marisol's investigation would be broadcast locally. Whitmore Home and Nursery learned about the upcoming report 1 week before airtime. The company released a statement describing me as a former family member involved in a contentious personal dispute. Judith posted a photograph of the original workshop with a caption about protecting family legacies from bitterness. Mallory refused to share it. Ethan called me. What have you been telling people? About what? Do not play games, Hannah. His voice carried the same irritation he used whenever I noticed a lie during our marriage. You contacted regulators. Yes. You gave them company materials. I gave them documents carrying my name. You are damaging the business that supports our children. The business sends $600 late most months. That is not the point. No. The point is that you placed my approval on furniture I never inspected. The products are fine. A dresser injured a child. The parents failed to anchor it. The strap was not included. Silence. Then Ethan lowered his voice. You have no idea what you are interfering with. The Mercer agreement, the stores, the employees. You use those employees to protect decisions they did not make. I am trying to preserve what my grandfather built. Your grandfather built furniture in Tennessee. You imported compressed board, copied my stamp, and attached his photograph. His control slipped. You think internet videos make you an expert on running a company? No. 20 years of restoration make me an expert on furniture. He laughed without humor. You always needed someone to tell you that you mattered. The sentence would once have reached the softest part of me. This time it did not. I mattered before I met you, Ethan. You just benefited from making me forget. I ended the call. 2 nights before the broadcast, Judith came to my house. She arrived at 7:30 while Lily and Jack were preparing for bed. Jack stood behind me wearing dinosaur pajamas. Lily watched Judith from the hallway. Their grandmother had not entered our home in more than 2 years. I need to speak to you privately, Judith said. You can speak here. This is an adult matter. Then speak like an adult, Jack whispered. Is that Daddy's mom? Judith's face flickered. Yes, sweetheart. He looked at me. Why don't we know her? Judith closed her eyes for 1 second. I sent both children to choose a bedtime book. When they left, Judith lowered her voice. The report will destroy the company. The company's decisions are doing that. Do not repeat prepared phrases. They are not prepared. They are simply true. You understand that businesses encounter problems. Ethan made choices under pressure. He forged my approval on nursery furniture. Do you want your children to know their mother destroyed their father's inheritance? My children nearly grew up without their sister because their father refused to answer his phone. That has nothing to do with the business. It has everything to do with the man you keep asking me to protect. Judith looked towards the hallway. The Whitmore name belongs to Lily and Jack. No. Her gaze snapped back to me. Their last name is Carter. Ethan is their father. Biology does not turn neglect into legacy. You are being vindictive. I removed the envelope containing Ethan's $600 check and placed it on the table. Do you recognize this? Judith looked down. That was his first support payment. That was the day your son told a roomful of people that a woman sanding chairs could not support 2 babies. Mallory laughed at my coat. You watched. Judith said nothing. For a long time I kept this because I thought it represented what your family believed I was worth. Then I understood it represented what your family was capable of seeing. What do you want? Safe products removed from children's homes. And after that, nothing. Money. No. Ownership. No. A public apology. No. She stared at me. People like Judith understood desire only when it provided something to negotiate against. You must want something. I wanted a husband who answered the phone. I wanted a grandmother who cared whether Lily survived. I wanted credit for my work. I wanted basic respect. I kept my voice calm. You had years to give me those things. I do not need substitutes now. She looked older when she left, not weaker, simply unable to hide the cost of maintaining herself. The morning of the broadcast began like any other school day. Lily rejected 2 pairs of socks because the seams felt incorrect. Jack could not find a toy truck he had placed inside the refrigerator. Keisha arrived carrying coffee and found me beneath the kitchen table searching for a shoe. You are going on national television in 40 minutes. I am aware. Your son is eating cereal from a measuring cup. He rejected the bowl. This is exactly how successful people live. We drove to the new workshop before sunrise. The Bell family had given me permission to begin cleaning the building while the final lease conditions were completed. Only a few rooms were ready. A temporary Carter Community Workshop sign rested face down near the loading door. At the Whitmore flagship showroom, Ethan and Judith were hosting a Founders Weekend sales event. Dozens of customers filled the main floor. Employees wore navy shirts embroidered with the Whitmore logo. The nursery collection stood beneath large photographs of Ethan's grandfather. Every television displayed the company's promotional video. At 8 o'clock, the screen switched to Marisol Vega. I know what happened next because the showroom broadcast was live and because several customers filmed from their phones. Marisol began with the Whitmore slogan, "Built here, built to last." Then the screen showed boxes arriving from an overseas factory. Former employees described removing shipping labels and attaching Whitmore branding. The mother from Murfreesboro described finding her 3-year-old son beneath a fallen dresser. A safety specialist demonstrated how easily the same model tipped. Customers in the showroom stopped browsing. A woman standing beside a display crib lifted her baby from the mattress. Then Marisol held up a blue inspection card. My name appeared beneath the stamp. She placed it beside an original card bearing my black ink. The blue card was created 18 months after Hannah Carter left the company, she said. Carter says she never inspected or approved this furniture. Ethan crossed the showroom toward the service counter. Turn that off. The assistant manager looked at him. Turn off every screen. No one moved. Judith came down the staircase from the office. This is a private family dispute, she announced. A customer turned toward her. My grandson sleeps beside one of those dressers. Marisol introduced Ray. He appeared on screen wearing a plain gray shirt. I knew Hannah never approved the imported pieces, he said. Management told us her name belonged to the company. Ethan looked across the showroom. Ray was standing near the loading entrance. He had come in person. You, Ethan said. Ray removed the Whitmore badge from his shirt. Then Marisol played the recording. The showroom speakers carried Ethan's voice through every department. Hannah is living above a laundromat making videos about broken chairs. She is not challenging Whitmore. Someone near the dining section whispered, "My God." The recording continued. An employee asked about using photographs of Lily and Jack. Ethan's voice answered, "When they are older, maybe we use the family angle for holiday advertising. They are your children, not a marketing angle. Right now they are an expense and a distraction. I am not letting dead weight slow this launch." The recording ended. No one spoke. Ethan's face turned white. Judith looked toward the customers as though waiting for the room to return to her control. It did not. She pointed toward Ray. You recorded a private management meeting. Ray looked at her. Hannah was family when you needed her name. The sentence moved through the silence like a hammer striking wood. A female employee removed her Whitmore badge. Then another. The assistant manager turned off the register and stepped away from the counter. Ethan raised his voice. Anyone who leaves now should not expect to return. Ray looked around the showroom. To what? A customer pushed a dresser receipt across the service desk. I want a refund. Another followed. Then another. Mallory stood near the staircase. Judith looked at her. Do something. For most of Mallory's life, those two words had been enough. This time she walked to the nearest television and increased the volume. The local report ended. The national program began. My face appeared on every screen. The cameras showed the apartment above the laundromat. The door balanced across filing cabinets. The bottle beside the wood glue. The first repaired rocking chair. Then the program showed Second Life Workshop, my employees in the weekend training classes. The interviewer asked what restoration had taught me about starting over. On screen, I answered, you cannot rebuild a life by pretending the break never happened. You remove what is rotten. You reinforce what remains true. Then you stop apologizing because the finished piece no longer resembles what someone else expected. Keisha stood beside me inside the empty brick workshop. She began crying. I am not crying, she said. No one said you were. I am having a powerful eye reaction. The final part of the television segment showed me walking through the original Whitmore workshop. The same brick walls, the same high windows, the same loading door. But the executive office was gone. The nursery prototype no longer carried Ethan's brass nameplate. Above the main bench hung Dad's tools. The interviewer stood beside me. What will this building become? A training center and working restoration shop. For whom? For people who were told their lives were too damaged to build from. 2 employees lifted the temporary sign. Carter Community Workshop, Second Life starts here. At the Whitmore showroom, Ethan stared at the screen. Judith gripped the staircase railing. A customer looked from the television to the large portrait of Ethan's grandfather. Then she said, you use that man's face to sell furniture he would never have built. Before the broadcast ended, Mercer Living announced it had suspended the partnership. The Bell family notified Whitmore that the old workshop lease would not be renewed. State officials arrived that afternoon to oversee the removal of the nursery collection. The company did not collapse because my face appeared on television. The television simply allowed everyone to see damage the Whitmores had spent years painting over. The months afterward were quieter than people imagine. There was no single explosion. There were canceled orders, recalled products, empty stores, and meetings where the Whitmores could no longer control who spoke. The flagship showroom closed. 2 smaller stores were sold. Customers received refunds or replacement furniture. Mallory entered treatment for gambling addiction. She returned what jewelry she still possessed and arranged repayment for the rest. Her relationship with Judith remained difficult. Truth did not turn them into a healthy family overnight. It simply removed the lie that they already were one. Sloan sent me one message. I owe you an apology. I saw his phone lighting up in Key West. I asked whether he needed to answer, and I accepted his explanation because I wanted to believe I had won. I replied, "You did not win me. You participated in abandoning 2 newborn children." She wrote, "I know." I did not continue the conversation. I no longer needed to compare myself with her. Ethan had not chosen someone better. He had chosen someone who supported the version of himself he wanted to perform. The Carter Community Workshop opened the following spring. Ray became shop manager. 14 former Whitmore employees joined us during the first year. Not because I rescued them, because they had skills worth respecting and deserved work that did not require silence. We repaired the roof and cleaned decades of dust from the windows. The former executive office became a childcare room. Keisha chose the paint. Jack called it orange. Lily insisted it was apricot and brought a color card to prove it. Above the loading door, we installed the permanent sign. Carter Community Workshop, Second Life starts here. More than 300 people attended the opening. Former customers, local craftspeople, parents from the training program, families who had followed my videos since the apartment above the laundromat. I stood beside the main workbench with Lily and Jack. The event host introduced me as a furniture conservator, educator, and founder, not furniture girl, not Ethan's former wife, not the woman someone abandoned. My own name was enough. Near the end of the afternoon, Ray approached me. "Ethan is outside." I looked toward the side entrance. Ethan stood beside a dark sedan wearing a plain blue shirt. For the first time since I knew him, nothing on his body announced status. I walked outside. "What do you need?" He looked past me toward the workshop. "My grandfather built that place. He started it. Ray and dozens of other people kept it alive. You put your name on it. I put my father's name on the work I built. You erased my family." "No, Ethan." I looked toward the open doors. "I stopped letting your family erase everyone else." His eyes moved toward Lily and Jack, who were painting small stools inside. "I want another chance. With them, with all of you." I almost felt sorry for him. "Almost." Sloan left, he added. "Did you think that would matter to me? I lost everything." "No. You lost the things you thought made you important." His face hardened. "You enjoy saying that. I do not enjoy any part of this." That answer unsettled him. He needed my satisfaction to prove I was cruel. He needed my pain to prove I still belonged to him. My calm offered nothing. "I made mistakes," he said. "You made decisions. I was under pressure. You were on a sailboat." "That is not what I meant." "I know." He glanced at the children again. "They are still mine. They are not property. I am their father." "Then act like one. Show up when you promise. Stop using photographs of them to repair your reputation. Do not make them wait beside another classroom door." His expression shifted. "Jack told you." Jack did not need to explain what happened. I was there. Ethan lowered his voice. "You used to be someone I could talk to. You used to be someone worth listening to." The softness left his face. There he was, the real Ethan appearing the moment regret failed to restore his access. "You think television made you untouchable?" "No." I reached into my jacket and removed an envelope. "I think I am free because your opinion no longer changes how I see myself." I handed him the envelope. Inside was the $600 check. The paper was more than 3 years old. His handwriting remained dark across the front. He looked at it. "I thought you cashed this." "I never did." "Why keep it?" "Because there were days when I needed to remember what you believed I was worth." He looked toward the crowded workshop. "And now I know the check never measured me." He unfolded it completely. "What am I supposed to do with it?" "Keep it." I met his eyes. "It is the last thing you ever gave me that told the truth." "What truth?" "That $600 was all the value you were capable of seeing." Jack ran through the side door wearing a child-sized apron. "Mom, Lily says my shelf is crooked." "Is it?" "Yes, but I think it has personality." From inside, Lily shouted, "It has structural failure." I laughed. Ethan looked at both children. For 1 second, grief crossed his face. I believe it was real. But regret is not the same as change. Grief does not create an automatic right to return to what a person neglected. "Your scheduled call is Wednesday at 6, I told him. "Be there." Then I went inside with my son. I did not look back. 2 years have passed since the workshop opened. Lily and Jack are 6 now. Lily still studies every situation before joining it. Jack still considers every rule the beginning of a negotiation. They know Ethan. They do not know him well. He calls more consistently than he once did. He visits when his schedule allows. I do not speak badly about him to the children. I also do not invent a better father than the one he chooses to be. When they ask why we do not live together, I tell them the truth in words they can carry. Your father and I stopped treating each other in a way that made a safe home. When they are older, they will learn more. I cannot control what the truth will do to them. I can only make sure their childhood contains enough honesty and love to help them hold it. Second Life Workshop now employs 32 people. The training program has helped more than 100 parents complete paid apprenticeships. Some started repair businesses. Some joined cabinet shops. Some restored one family table and discovered that was all they needed. People sometimes call what happened revenge. I understand why. Ethan saw me on television while his family company came apart around him. His words became public. His name came off the workshop. The woman he dismissed now teaches others inside the building he believed represented his inheritance. From a distance, it looks like revenge, but revenge would have meant building my life while continuing to face Ethan. I did not. I built it facing Lily and Jack. I built it facing Keisha when she arrived at the hospital before anyone related to my children. I built it facing my father's tools. I built it facing people who entered the workshop believing their lives had become too damaged to use. My father said damage always had a direction. For years, every pressure in my life pushed me inward. Be quiet. Be grateful. Do not embarrass the family. Do not ask where your husband is. Do not ask why your name disappeared from your own work. Do not make your child's emergency inconvenient. Do not expect more than $600. Then Lily could not breathe and the pressure changed direction. It pushed me out of the marriage, out of the Whitmore family story, out of the small version of myself they needed me to remain. People say I restored my life. That is not exactly true. Restoration means returning something to what it once was. I would never return to the woman I was before the 41 calls. I honor her. She worked hard. She loved deeply. But she confused patience with permission. I did not restore that life. I built forward. I kept what was strong. I removed what was rotten. And I stopped hiding where the repairs had been made. So tell me honestly, if a father ignored 41 calls while his newborn daughter could not breathe, then returned only after the world recognized the woman he abandoned, could you ever forgive him? Or did Ethan lose the right to call himself a real father on the night he chose not to answer?